Welcome to the Friday News Dump for October 18th, 2013. I'm Francis Goodwin. Behind the camera, we have Deborah Goodwin, and to my left is Gregory Crawford. We're broadcasting to you tonight from beautiful green mountains of central Vermont. There were some guys working on our bank, doing bank reconstruction of Stony Brook. Stony Brook was pretty much wrecked because we were in the epicenter of Hurricane Irene a couple of years ago. So everyone around here is still doing disaster recovery work, but it's great to have the opportunity to do it. A couple of things. We're going to be trying to stream this to you live each Friday night at probably 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're still just recording it at this point until we can find a good place for a fiber hookup that we can have the broadband to stream with. Another thing I want to add, not all, some of the content that a good part of the content that we run each night or on each news dump comes from the Wikipedia current events page. They provide a little summary of world current events. It's not perfect, it's not entirely comprehensive, but it's a nice source of material that we have permission to use, so I want to thank them for that. Greg writes all his own content. I don't know where he gets it from. Sometimes I wonder.
Crazy town.
Yeah. Global stocks climbed to a 5-year high today as investors bet the Federal Reserve will extend its stimulus policy well into 2014. But uncertainty over when U.S. interest rates will rise caused the dollar to sink to an 8-month low. The S&P closed at a record high for the second consecutive day as positive earnings from Google, Morgan Stanley, and others lifted investor sentiment. For the week, the Dow rose 1%, the S&P was up 2.4%, and the NASDAQ advanced 3.2%.
Google Incorporated shares jumped past $1,000 today as investors bet on the internet company's continued dominance of the mobile and video advertising businesses, despite aggressive competition from Facebook and Yahoo.
President Obama yesterday signed a bipartisan deal approved by Congress to end the government shutdown and the debt ceiling crisis. The Senate Wednesday reached a bipartisan deal to avoid default and end the 16-day shutdown. International credit rating group Fitch Ratings placed the United States under a ratings watch negative on Tuesday. A U.S. Treasury official said today that the impasse over America's debt ceiling and temporary government shutdown have not affected the Treasury's planned calendar for debt issuance.
Oh, this will really brighten your day. Scientists have discovered a new strain of botulinum that is the deadliest substance known to man or anyone else. The new variant of the toxin is called botulinum type H, and inhaling as little as 13 billionths of a gram is fatal.
Yikes.
And there's no treatment for it. Of the 7 previously known strains of Clostridium botulinum, the bacterium that causes botulism, only 4 are toxic to humans, and they are treatable. Botulism is a paralytic degenerative nerve disease. It is also the basis for the periodic Botox treatments that terminally vain use to erase wrinkles. Maybe now they'll learn to live with crow's feet. Researchers are refusing to publish details of this new strain of C. botulinum for fear that the Pentagon or someone equally crazy will try and weaponize it.
New Zealand author Eleanor Catton won the 2013 Man Booker Prize Tuesday for her work, The Luminaries. By the way, this is the first year that this award has been given to anyone outside the UK. They expanded it to include, I think, the whole world.
Did they, or just the Commonwealth?
It may have been just
the
Commonwealth. Yeah,
because it's a British prize.
It was
But
controversial.
it is one of the most prestigious literary prizes there is, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
From our firm grasp of the obvious department comes this confirmation of what we already knew. Air pollution causes lung cancer. The World Health Organization has finally amassed enough data and crunched the numbers so they can say unequivocally that particulate matter in outdoor air pollution is carcinogenic to humans, and probably to anything else that breathes. Short of wearing OSHA-approved dust mask 24/7, it looks like we're all doomed. Damn, I made plans too.
The Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences went to 3 Americans Monday in connection with their work in asset prices. The Nobel winners are Eugene Fama, Lars Peter Hansen, and Robert Shiller.
Supposedly, didn't their research contradict each other too? That was one of the things about it that I sort of
Really? It may
heard
have.
as I was on NPR or something.
But
That whatever, there's 2 separate positions that they wrote about, and they totally contradict one another.
And they got a prize for that. Okay. That's
think
interesting.
I may not be right, so don't go to the
Yeah, I wish I
don't
knew.
go running to the bank on that one. But I think I heard that.
I think Robert Shiller's the guy we hear with the Shiller Home Index often. That's referred to as a gauge of how homes are doing.
Right.
Well, anyway, here's another one to get your bloomers in a bunch. Fully 2/3 of the people working in fast food franchises are adults. Not teenagers living at home, but, grown-ups, often with children struggling just to survive on the meager wages offered by Mickey D's and the rest. Dearie sakes alive, how do they do it, you might ask? Well, they're forced to depend on supplemental nutrition programs provided by, wait for it, our tax dollars, to the tune of about $7 billion a year, which means that you and I are paying for the lavish lifestyles of the corporate executives petting McSlimeburgers. Now, I would not begrudge any help to those poor folks asking if I want fries with that. But the greedy schmucks in their private Gulf Streams, that's another story.
Well, this is just outrageous if you ask me. It was, I
Well,
heard the same story too. We're basically what we're subsidizing is, McDonald's corporate profits. Mm-hmm. It could,
Same with Walmart.
I heard someone trying to make an argument saying, "Oh, well, we're subsidizing low prices for the consumer."
Bull puppy.
But I think people would pay more for their McFries or whatever, if they knew that people were making a decent wage. I may be wrong about
No,
that.
I don't think you are. I agree. It's definitely true. Gunmen Sunday kidnapped 7 workers from the International Committee of the Red Cross from northern Syria.
Opposition activists say Syrian army tanks killed 11 civilians on Sunday, including 3 children in a crossfire incident during the battle for the center of the city Daraa.
At least 21 civilians were killed Wednesday when their minibus hit a landmine in the southern Syrian town of Nawa, with opposition activists blaming the Syrian army.
Ethiopian officials report that a plot by a group of Somali nationals to attack Sunday's 2014 FIFA World Cup qualification matches in Addis Ababa failed when their explosive detonated inside their home. Ouch. Oh. The explosion killed 2 of the would-be suicide bombers. There's some justice there.
A bomb explosion Tuesday in a mosque in Afghanistan's Logar province killed the governor, Arsala Jamal, and caused injuries to others nearby.
A bomb detonated Tuesday outside a Sunni mosque in Kirkuk, Iraq, killing 12 worshippers and injuring another 24.
Attacks yesterday on Shia Muslims killed at least 59 people across Iraq, including a suicide truck bomb targeting at least 15 members of the country's Shabak people.
The Israeli army on Tuesday found a second tunnel laden with explosives dug from the Gaza Strip into Israel and proceeded to destroy it. Boom.
A Naxalite landmine killed 3 police officers yesterday in the Gadchiroli district of India's Maharashtra state.
Islamist gunmen killed 2 Tunisian policemen yesterday in clashes in the northeastern city of Gubela.
Suspected Renamo rebels killed 7 Mozambican soldiers in an ambush yesterday.
Swedish archaeologists in Old Uppsala said yesterday that they've unearthed a great number of mysterious posts in perfect alignment for more than a kilometer in what is suggested to be a display of power of the 5th century Swedish chieftain.
Sounds weird. It's hard to, I just wonder what a kilometer long row of posts have been.
Give me more posts. I demand more posts.
Maybe it was, alien landing directions.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Was it Eric von Daniken used to write about that stuff back in the 70s?
Yeah, right. That's it. Okay. On that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to go to Gregory Crawford's weekly rant. A very wonderful rant as usual, and then we're going to come right back. So stick around, or get a snack and return. This is a Friday News Dump for October 18th, 2013. I'm Francis Goodwin. This is Gregory Crawford. Behind the camera, the lovely Deborah Goodwin.
Hi, I'm Greg Crawford with the Friday News Dump, brought to you by World News Trust. Well, the shutdown is over. The estimated cost of this pointless lunacy comes to about $24 billion, give or take $1 million. Federal workers are back on the job, though I'm sure they're wondering if they're going to get 16 days worth of back pay. After the hammering the House teabaggers took, I don't think they're overly concerned with those they victimized. They're wondering whether they're going to still have jobs after the midterms. Let's hope they don't. But given the staggering stupidity of the Tea Party supporters, we should never underestimate their bottomless capacity to lie to themselves as well as everyone else. They probably already convinced themselves that this monumental fiasco was a smashing success. The wild-eyed maniacs in safe districts are already screeching about impeaching Obama for a shutdown that they caused. Up is the new down. Go figure. At the end of last week's commentary, I intimated that we just might make us some history. Well, handing the House Republicans their butts in a bun certainly qualifies as historic, but I had something a little more substantial in mind. But the schadenfreude is delicious, isn't it? Anyway, as we at Friday News Dump and many others have observed countless times, 99% of what's wrong with politics in this country can be traced back to corporate money poisoning the process. And with the most corrupt and morally bankrupt Supreme Court majority in living memory handing down decisions like Citizens United, and with oral arguments having been already heard for McCutcheon v. the Federal Election Commission, the future of democracy in this country is looking pretty grim. For those who may not be familiar with it, the essence of the McCutcheon versus the FEC is as follows. Sean McCutcheon, a wealthy Republican, has brought suit against the Federal Election Commission, challenging the aggregate contribution limits, or how much money an individual can contribute to a candidate in a single election cycle. The limit is already an astronomical sum, well north of $100,000. McCutcheon wants to remove any and all limits. The limits were established following the Watergate scandal that brought down Richard Nixon, and they have been upheld in numerous court cases over nearly 40 years. But, as Citizens United so clearly demonstrates, such precedents haven't deterred the Roberts Court from doing everything in its power to enable big business to gang rape democracy, so it probably won't slow them down much this time either. The last election cycle was the costliest in American history. Not just American history. In history as in the whole damn world. It means that Monsanto, Nestle, ExxonMobil, and all the rest of the corporate psychopaths intent on crushing the last vestiges of democracy will likely be handed a kill anything you don't like card with no expiration date. And one of their first targets will be the only slingshot that gives us little Davids a breath of a chance against those Goliaths, the Internet. Now, history will not be kind to Barack Obama. He's been a tool of Goldman Sachs et al. From day one. But his support of and demand for fast-track authority on the Trans-Pacific Partnership will be remembered as the single most evil thing he or any other president has ever done. And ruthless control and censorship of the Internet access and content is high on the list of draconian restrictions the multinationals want to impose once the TPP gives them the power to circumvent, neutralize, and otherwise cut off at the knees any authority that sovereign governments might once have had to rein in their rapacious depredations. Which means we ain't got much time. Now, what I'm proposing isn't going to be a magic bullet that sets the world right again. But we got to start somewhere. When we unravel this tangled web, there's only one solution that presents itself: to get money out of politics. Not a simple matter, to be sure, but as I said, we have to start somewhere. Now, I have initiated a petition with MoveOn.org entitled, "Corporate Money Poisons the Electoral Process." I recommend that you sign it, and then encourage everyone you know to do the same. By itself, the petition cannot effect a change in the status quo, but what it can do is get people thinking about it, and to put their representatives and senators on notice that this little light of ours is going to shine on their all-too-cozy relationships with big corporate donors whose bribes, campaign contributions, have drowned out the voice of we the people for long enough. We've had all we're going to tolerate of this abusive relationship, and we're not going to take it anymore. You can find this petition at NewsDump.tv on the Facebook page. If enough of us demand publicly funded state and federal elections that no one can opt out of, we will eventually succeed in eliminating the corrosive influence of corporate money or the money of sinister billionaires like the Koch brothers or Sheldon Adelson from perverting democracy to protect themselves from any accountability for their crimes. But it will take a veritable tsunami of public outrage to make it happen. So crank up your righteous indignation right up to 11 and go make us some history.
And we're back. I'm Francis Goodwin with the Friday News Dump, the second segment of the Friday News Dump for October 18th, 2013. This is Greg Crawford. Behind the camera, we've got the lovely Deborah Goodwin. Thank you for joining us. Greg, your rants are really something else. I really want to thank you.
Do you feel better afterwards?
I feel cleansed.
Yeah, really. God, it must be nice to get that off your chest.
Get it out of my system, huh? This one we'll be revisiting this one on a regular basis to update people on what the progress might be, because I'm hoping that we'll actually get some national traction with this thing that I mentioned in the rant.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, you're a lot more outspoken about these things than I am. This is why you're doing the rant. I generally agree with most of the things, if not all the things you say.
Outspoken is only one of my many virtues.
Modesty among them, right? Yes. Glenn Greenwald, a reporter with The Guardian, who has published information provided him by NSA contractor Edward Snowden, is leaving the British newspaper to join a new journalistic enterprise to be bankrolled by Pierre Omidyar, the founder of eBay. That sounds interesting.
Oh, you need to call him up.
Yeah, and Glenn does good work, so it'll be very interesting to see what comes of that.
And such controversial work. I mean,
oh yeah,
so many people.
He doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah, but
I like him.
Well, I do too. Yeah. But it's just interesting.
China said today that its economy rose in the third quarter 7.8% from the third quarter of a year ago.
Cyclone Phelan made landfall Saturday on the east coast of India. The death toll in India from the cyclone rose to at least 18 Monday as the storm dissipated.
Typhoon Nari hit the Philippines on Saturday, killing at least 5 people and leaving 2 million without power.
Yes, by the way, this is the disaster section of our weekly broadcast that everybody moans and groans around here. But, hey, got to hear what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
At least 50 people are dead after a truck veered off a cliff Saturday in La Convención province in Peru. Well, can't you see it, one of those mountainous roads where it's...
I hope to go there someday.
Yeah, but I don't know
have
about
time to read a
I don't know
comic
if I'm
book
going
on
to
the
ride
way
in a
out.
truck or a bus.
Well, they drive like crazy over there, too, and the roads are like this wide, and they just...
My.
Too bad. A series of explosions on Saturday at a fireworks factory in northern Vietnam killed at least 15 people and left many others injured.
A building collapsed Saturday in Colombia, killed one person, with 10 people still missing.
A stampede broke out on Sunday on a bridge near the Ratangah Mata Temple in Dachia district, Madhya Pradesh, India, during the Hindu festival of Navratri.
Wow, that was
The fire
great.
killed 109 people and injured more than 120 people.
That was not great.
A judicial inquiry
awful.
was ordered on Monday into the stampede. They stampede over there a lot.
I was
they're
amazed
like
by
nervous
your
cattle or something like
pronunciation.
that.
That's what I was.
I try to give Greg the hard to pronounce ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did so well with that. That's what I was saying was
Of
great.
course.
What an
No,
awful.
everybody knew that.
Awful story.
Everybody knew that. A magnitude 7.2 earthquake rocked the Philippines Tuesday near the town of Biliahan in Bohol province, resulting in at least 156 deaths and 370 people injured.
A state emergency was declared on Tuesday in the New Zealand district of Whanganui. That's really Wanganui, excuse me. It's a real place.
Come on, man.
It's a real place. Anyway, due to flooding. They've been having some problems in New Zealand lately.
That sounds like it's a Maori name for that district.
I imagine it probably is. It doesn't sound very English to me.
No.
Wanganui. Typhoon Nari hit central Vietnam Tuesday, prompting the evacuation of more than 122,000 people.
Lao Airlines Flight 301 crashed on Wednesday in the Mekong River near Pak Si International Airport, killing 44 passengers and 5 crew members.
Typhoon Whippa hit Japan Wednesday, killing at least 18 people. 45 people are still missing.
A Panamanian registered ship sank on Wednesday off the coast of South Korea, killing 9 sailors and leaving 2 others missing. Coast Guard officials rescued another 8 crew members.
At least 7 emergency warnings were issued yesterday for bushfires in the Australian state of New South Wales. The fires already have resulted in 1 death at Lake Munmora, significant property damage, and closures of airports and highways.
Japanese Cabinet Minister Yoshitaka okay.
I think the name might have got cut off.
I think it might have. But anyway, his last name is Yoshitaka. Visited the controversial Yakasuni Shrine in Tokyo today, potentially causing conflict with South Korea and the People's Republic of China. Yasukuni Shrine is the believed repository of the souls of about 2.5 million war dead. It is controversial because of the inclusion of 14 of the men held responsible for Japan's often brutal behavior as it invaded a swath of Asia during the 1930s and 40s.
5 people were injured during a shooting at Hmong New Year's celebration in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 2 men, 19 and 21 years old, were arrested.
More than 380 people were detained on Sunday after an anti-immigrant Russian nationalist riot in southern Moscow.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not protesting there. But, you know.
I'm glad I'm not doing anything there.
Glad I don't live there. That's for sure.
Yeah. A man was arrested Monday after attempting to enter Buckingham Palace, London, while in possession of a knife.
That wasn't very smart.
No.
Former Liberian President Charles Taylor arrived Tuesday in the United Kingdom to serve the remainder of a 50-year sentence after becoming the first head of state to be convicted of war crimes since World War II.
The perpetrator of the 2013 Beijing Capital International Airport bombing was sentenced Tuesday to 6 years imprisonment by a Chinese court.
A terminal at Miami International Airport was briefly evacuated on Wednesday after a bomb-sniffing dog discovered a possible explosive device.
35 members of the U.S.-owned MV Seaman Guard Ohio were arrested today in the Indian port of Thoothukudi.
A TV for you to say.
Thoothukudi. I think that's it. Thoothukudi.
Yeah.
In Tamil Nadu for alleged illegal possession of arms and ammunition.
The Constitutional Council of France ruled today that the country's mayors cannot refuse to officiate at same-sex marriages.
Bill Shorten was elected Sunday as the head of the federal Australian Labor Party, defeating Anthony Albanese in a leadership ballot.
Vietnamese independence hero General Vo Nguyen Giap was buried on Sunday after an elaborate 2-day state funeral.
Solberg's cabinet was appointed Wednesday as the 61st cabinet of Norway by the king, following the parliamentary election September 9th.
Chad, Chile, Lithuania, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia were elected yesterday to the United Nations Security Council for a 2-year term starting on January 1st.
Divers in Russia recovered a 1,255-pound portion of the Chelyabinsk meteor that landed in February. It is one of the largest meteorite fragments found to date.
It was interesting that so many people saw that meteor fly through the sky because every Russian car is equipped with a dash camera.
Right.
Because so many people are running out and going, oh, and throwing themselves on the hood and then suing because they've been injured. So everybody has a dash camera on their car. So every dash camera within 1,000 miles of the whole thing saw this monstrous thing come down and explode. And there was it was so huge that there was a gargantuan chunk of it still left at the bottom of a lake. Oh, amazing. More
Dinosaur
in science.
killer.
Oh, I guess. Almost. Remember Ötzi the Iceman, whose mummified remains were discovered in the Italian Alps back in 1991?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've been testing old Ötzi every which way for the past 22 years, and of course they extracted some DNA from the 5,300-year-old fellow. Turns out that through an unrelated study, they've discovered that he is the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of possibly as many as 19 men living in the area today. We might be missing a few greats in there, but that is some family tree. Obviously, we all have ancestors that old or much older, or we wouldn't even be here. But tracing one's lineage all the way back to before the development of writing is problematic, to say the least. But it's kind of cool to contemplate, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Science Magazine published an article today about what it describes as the world's first completely preserved adult hominid skull, recently unearthed in Dmanisi, Georgia. That's over in, I guess, what used to be the Soviet Union, over in Russia. The skull may suggest that several known species of human ancestor were part of a single evolving lineage of early Homo erectus.
Sasquatch, Yeti, abominable snowman, Bigfoot. The eternal search for proof of the existence of this elusive mythic creature has previously been the exclusive domain of the tinfoil beanie crowd. Until now. Oh boy. Apparently, researchers at the University of Oxford have come up with the hypothesis that it just might be real. They think it might be descended from an ancient cross between a polar bear and a brown bear that, for whatever reason, developed into a bipedal animal. So maybe Wookiees are real too.
That's really cool. That, you know, that there could really be something to that myth. It makes perfect sense that it would be like a polar bear.
Yeah.
You know, and polar bears get in their hind legs sometimes. Like
All
grizzlies.
bears do. All bears do.
So,
but this one just is bipedal by nature for whatever reason, and it might actually exist because they compared hairs that they'd found.
yeah.
I said, whoa.
And they got this scientist that didn't have to say whether he believed in Yeti or not. They just said, "What do you where do these hairs come from?" And he said, that polar bear, an ancient polar bear. So a descendant from. So it's really neat. Okay.
So Chewbacca, forgive me for ever doubting you.
So see, there was something else going on besides the government shutdown all week.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That's just the entertainment arm, as we were saying
Yes.
before. Yes. Well, thank you for joining us once again for the Friday News Dump for October 18th, 2013. I'm Francis Goodwin. Behind the camera, we have the lovely Deborah Goodwin. And to my left,
The lovely Greg Crawford.
yes.
Good
So
night.
thank you. Good night. Join us next week.